is. I know I said it last week, but I want to say it again. Every time I hit that get in here, like, I'm nervous. He's not
Get over here.
I mean, we can't take Craig for granted anymore. Okay,
That's true. Well,
Yeah. If we
before
do,
get
his
started-
evil clone will come out.
That's
again.
true. G-Arc.
that's true. Actually, yeah.
Before we get started, hi everyone. I'm your host, Johnny Skywalker. We have Farmer Skywalker, DJD Skywalker, and guest to the podcast, Chloe Skywalker. Welcome in.
DJD Palpatine, actually.
Palpatine.
Palpatine, I like.
I just hate how you said that.
And
actually
we
like
also have Craig
Palpatine.
Skywalker. Craig Skywalker back there in the booth. Welcome in. Welcome in,
It's the
everyone.
Rise of the
Episode 9.
Skywalkers.
Rise of Skywalker. That's the name of this episode. Rise
That's
of
the name of the
Skywalker.
episode. Doggone it.
He's like,
I
I'm
hate
not
this
going to
place.
say in this.
I have been, since we did episode 4, A New Hope, I've been waiting for this. Just every week. I'm like, is it? For some reason, I don't know why, I have a hard time remembering that The Force Awakens is episode 7. Is that,
Sure.
am I the only
No,
one?
I
I think of The Last Jedi as episode 7. And Rise of Skywalker is episode 8 for some reason. I don't know why.
I can't say I often think about it. So, but I mean, realistically, it makes sense that it's 7.
Do you guys want to hear something
That's
really
Johnny's
sad?
Roman Empire. That's what it is.
Do you guys want to hear something really sad that's going to make Star Wars fans upset? When The Force
They're making
Awakens,
another one.
yeah, they are right. They're making like a Rey movie, and people are mad about it. Which, I mean, the last 3 movies
People
were Rey
stay
movies.
mad though.
but-
What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
Before The Force Awakens came out, I was like, I'm going to watch every Star Wars movie again, right? Because it had been a while,
Right.
and so I started watching them. I watched every single one except one of them. About a third of the way through the movie, I just turned it off because I just lost interest. Which movie do you guys think that is?
I know it right off the bat. The Last Jedi.
No. It was before.
Oh,
It was before Force Awakens.
I wanna
it's
say
the
3.
first 6.
I would say 3 because it's, well, but no, 3
I
is
would
just like such a
say-
huge turning point. 2. I would say 2. 2
would
or the
say
second one in the
2. Yeah, I would
first,
say
yeah.
Attack of the Clones would be.
It's not Phantom Menace because Johnny and I love that movie.
I
Oh,
love
that
that.
movie is fantastic.
You know, it
Peak
was
Star Wars.
Return of the Jedi.
really.
I
Really?
turned off Return of the Jedi after the whole Tatooine arc, right? When like the barge blows up and all of that stuff. I like paused the movie for something and I just ended up stopping the movie and I never finished the movie. I just was like, oh, that's fine. I'm happy with that. That's good enough.
Interesting.
Isn't that weird? And to be honest, that was the only one that really didn't hold up as much to me in my memory, right? The others were very much how I remembered, and I really remembered enjoying it. But Return of the Jedi, I wasn't liking it as much as I remembered that I liked it.
And it must be because of all that sand. You just like the sand.
I don't know. I feel like the whole opening sequence of it was really long for it to have nothing to do with the rest of the movie. Yeah, they have to rescue Han, I know, but like then there's like a hard pivot for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, it's almost like very two different ththings that are going on. It's like they did that, and that's like almost like the end of a chapter, almost like it. And,
Right.
And yeah, I feel you. It's like a whole transition change between that first part to like, oh, what? Okay, now that we're done this, now we're going to go back to everything else that we were trying to do in Empire Strikes Back. Trying to get back into that flow.
If Return of the Jedi came out now, it would be like part 1 and part 2, right? And part 1 would have ended there.
Right.
And part 2 would be like the rest of the movie. But Farmer, you were gone last week. How was snowboarding?
Amazing. We had some really good fresh powder out there. Honestly, so much powder that you could fall and not hurt. That's a good sign because you can kind of like test the waters and kind of grow and expand on your talent or your snowboarding skills. So a lot of fun. Is a beautiful sight out there. I've never actually been out to Washington State, so was pretty awesome. The sad part was that I wasn't able to really visit anybody that I know from like the group out there. Like I wasn't able to see Travis, which he was a little bit of a drive, but maybe next time I can actually stop by and say hi.
I know you were snowboarding. Were any of the guys snowboarding or skiing? Anyone skiing?
one of my friends was snowboarding and the other was skiing. So we had one of each.
I can ski. Chloe, can you ski?
I used to ski when I was a kid all the time and then switched to snowboarding in high school. So I'm pretty confident I could still ski, but I have not done it in many years.
You snowboard though, right?
I do snowboard. It's been a long time ever since I broke my ankle. I haven't really gotten back on my board again, and I'd probably need to buy new boots. But I could probably do it.
Oh yeah.
I think skiing is a lot easier than snowboarding, but like harder to master skiing, whereas snowboarding is way harder to get started in, but way easier to master.
Yeah, I definitely feel like it's kind of what you said. Like skiing, you can start off a lot easier. But snowboarding, you're like, oh, I catch the edge. I'm on my face or on my rear, and bruised, whatever, real quick. But once you get the flow, it's like, you got that huge wide board, to like easily just keep flowing. Where when you got skis, you're like, oh, they can turn up and under each other, and they're, I feel like I'm gonna break an ankle or something like that. But that's just because I'm not as good probably at skis, and I just love snowboarding.
Right.
The last time I went skiing, I used short skis, which were bigger than my foot, but they weren't as long as regular skis, and that was a lot of fun. I found it to be really cool. But snowboarding also, when people wipe out snowboarding, it looks way worse than when they wipe out skiing.
Yeah, it can be.
You don't lose your board like the skis pop off, but the board does not pop off.
Yeah. The whiplash looks bad. Ooh, I don't know.
There's definitely been a time snowboarding where I caught the front edge, and you just I did like this Superman down the mountain, right? And your board's still attached to you, but when I landed, my snowboard came up and hit me in the back of the head in my helmet. So thank goodness I was wearing a helmet. But I was like, oh my gosh, I could have cut my skull open.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people don't realize there's that huge metal edge on both sides, so it can be very sharp. It can really hurt you if you're not careful.
And technically, this is a gaming podcast, so I'm going to bring it back around. Has anyone played Steep? It's my favorite. My favorite.
I've not played Steep, but the SX Trixie days on the GameCube. That's where it was at.
I played this snowboarding game a long time ago on the PlayStation 1 called Cool Borders. Did anyone play that one?
Definitely not.
I don't think so. I never owned a PlayStation at that time, actually.
Cool Borders. Oh man, I'm looking at this. What a great game. Wow, incredible. So before we move on, I played Cool Borders. So when I was a kid, we had a PlayStation, right? Not like the small PS1, but like the big gray PlayStation. And I remember my dad took our PlayStation to like a mod shop and got it modded so we could play burned games. So we would like rent games from like the local rental place. And if we liked it, you rent it for like a week or whatever. If we liked it, we would just copy the game and then bring it back to the rental place. And we just had all of these burned games. And one of them was Cool Borders, which at the time I didn't think anything about it. So we had tons of games. But now I'm just like, oh my God, that's crazy. Like, also, if you guys hear anything, I still share a studio with Chiho, and she's watching a movie. Just throwing that out there for the recording.
Which Harry Potter is she on now?
She's on Half-Blood Prince.
Getting close to the end then.
The lamest, one of the lamer ones.
For the record, I feel a little bit left out that I wasn't asked if I could snowboard or ski.
We talked about it. We talked about it a few weeks ago.
Talking about this. Yeah. Yep.
That's why
I don't know. Can you snowboard or ski?
No.
Can you sled down a hill?
Of course, depends on the steepness of the hill, I guess.
Hey, speaking of, like, whenever we talk about like snowboarding games or anything, it always comes back to, and I'm just gonna
SSX.
go ahead. I was just gonna go ahead and say it first.
No, I already mentioned it. SSX on the GameCube, though. It was peak SSX.
Yeah,
this is a great special thing, though. So back in the 360 days, David and I, we're trying to figure out a game to play, and I was like, man, there's this really cool snowboarding game, and I know it's co-op. You should get it. And he's like, are you sure it's co-op? And I'm like, 100%. Yeah, get the game. We're gonna have so much fun playing this game. He gets the game, installs it, and whatnot. We go to play it, and it's single player.
But a great
He's
snowboarding
still-
game.
Great snowboarding game, but to this day, I can't let it. He can't. It still comes up to this day.
Yep.
In Cool Borders, I remember you could punch the other people. Could you
Wow.
do that in SSX? Like if you came up on somebody, you could punch them and they'd fall down, and then you could keep going.
I think that sounds a little unsportsmanlike.
It was
There was
awesome.
there was a Shaun White snowboarding game in the 360 days, and you could literally pick up a snowball and throw it at the opponent or your buddy or what. That game actually had multiplayer. So
Shaun
There's
White
that.
did it right, you know.
Shaun White did it right. I like that.
I can't tell you the insane crush that I always had on Shaun White all throughout high school.
I don't even know who Shaun White is. Let me look him up. Sean.
Olympic
Wow.
gold winner of like 4-time
We're
gold
talking
winner for
about
the United
snowboarding
States.
here.
Sounds like someone who has no life. You know
Oh
what I
my
mean?
gosh.
Let's look.
Or the
This is
coolest
the-
life ever.
I think he's in a band now too. You know?
Oh my
Wow.
gosh, so
He's
cool.
got
I
his
didn't
own
think he
band.
could get cooler, and he just got cooler.
I don't like
The coolest thing about Shaun White
Oh
is
my God,
his
I
name is
can't.
spelled Sean and not Seen.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
the
Yeah.
right way. No, I mean,
He's of the older generation, you know, before the names got real kooky.
But D, I was going to say, you brought up last time we talked about this that you could rollerblade, and if you can rollerblade, you can ski.
Oh, yeah.
oh yeah, for sure. Hey, so let's plan our trip. When are we gonna do it?
Yeah, you guys are going to come to Colorado for a ski trip.
Let's do it.
That sounds great.
Sounds
Okay.
like a plan. And there's so much powder out there. It'll be great. So much powder out there. Love it.
One of the things I wanted to touch on, it's actually really great. I think that Chloe is in here for this. Did anyone see the Fallout trailer? The
Oh,
Fallout show
yes.
on Amazon Prime.
Yes.
Yes.
I
Yes.
have not. I have not
Farm.
seen it. I didn't even know
Gotta
it
go
dropped.
watch it right now, bud.
Wow.
They're gonna
Okay, I'll see you
drop
guys.
the whole season. Yeah, they're gonna drop the whole season in April.
At once. Yeah.
And I don't even like Fallout. That show looks great.
It
oh my
looks
god,
phenomenal.
it looks good.
Well, it's the same. It's the same writer and showrunner as did Westworld, right?
Oh,
So that's
okay, I
super
didn't know that.
exciting because they did a fantastic job on Westworld. Lisa Joy and Jonathan Nolan, Christopher Nolan's brother, actually,
Oh.
who also I just found out this week wrote the incredibly overquoted line. He's not the hero we deserve, but he's the one we need right now.
You know, I watched that same clip, and then he's like, to this day, I can't live down the fact that my best line from one of my movies wasn't even written by me, but by my brother.
That's great. Little sibling rivalry there. That's great.
And then, well, and also in the interview, he says, I don't even know what that means.
It's like it just looked good on paper.
Yeah, it just stayed in. Yeah. I am not a huge fan of Fallout. I never even finished Fallout 4. I did a lot of it, but I didn't finish it. But the setting, like just I don't know, they captured it so well. Like watching the
I
trailer,
agree.
like all of the images of it looked so good. I don't know the name of that actor. What's his name? Hold on. I really love him. I first saw him in Sons of Anarchy. It's really random. I think you know who I'm talking about, D. What's his name? Walton Goggins.
Oh, yeah.
He's
I know
so
him from
great.
S.H.I.E.L.D., actually.
Oh, yeah. He's so great. Man, I'm super pumped for this show.
Which, don't the S.H.I.E.L.D. and Sons of Anarchy take place in the same universe?
They
I think.
do.
Yeah.
They do take place in the same universe.
Both
I'm
very
just excited.
not family-friendly shows, by the way.
Yes. Yes. Don't watch them with your kids around, guys. Man, we just live in such a great time for media.
So, I mean, I did already start the trailer because I had to, but lots of sand is all I can say. You know, I just want to throw that out there.
It's the
All the good
2024
shows with sand, come on.
Yeah, theme is it's just a very sandy year.
Yeah, Dune.
You know-
oh my god, I can't wait to watch Dune 2. I cannot.
It
wait.
was absolutely incredible. I don't regret a single minute of that almost 3-hour movie. It was phenomenal.
Did you
I love
watch it already?
Yes, so I'm a diehard Dune fan. I've been growing up on Dune since since I was a baby because it's been out way longer than I've been alive. But
she was born in the desert.
Yeah, I wish, man. Like the Fremen are just so cool. The setting. I mean, so much of sci-fi is based on this world that Frank Herbert, I think. Yeah. Anyway, created. So,
yeah, I'm really excited to see that too.
Yeah,
I can't wait.
It's so good.
Hashtag
Can we talk about
Dune it right?
that someone sent Tolkien a copy of Dune and he hated it.
Yeah,
I love the drama between them. I love it. It's so good. Yeah, Tolkien, not a fan. Dune.
Where Dune is like the cornerstone of sci-fi, like Lord of the Rings is the cornerstone of fantasy. So, I mean, they're just two very opposing thoughts.
A bunch of really interesting takes on it of that, like, because Dune in the end is like an anti-messiah story, apparently. And Tolkien was a very devout Catholic. And so he would have a lot of issues with the distrust around religion in Dune and all those kinds of things. But so some people think that's it. But there's also just, I mean, Middle Earth is so dense, right? Especially if you get past the Lord of the Rings books and the Hobbit books. He put so much in there that I don't know. It wouldn't be surprising to me if it was something as small as like Tolkien didn't love that the main character's name is Paul.
Yeah, well, it's probably just preference, He likes fantasy more, and the other liked sci-fi more, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I think there is kind of a division there. There's certain games that I don't necessarily like to play as much just because I'm more on the sci-fi side of things, with nothing wrong with that, but I love sci-fi more.
I prefer Fallout way more than I prefer Skyrim. I still love Skyrim, and I've played it, and it's great and everything, but I would play Fallout every day forever if I had the choice over Skyrim.
This is why we're friends.
Insane. I would rather walk around in a nuclear wasteland.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%.
With nobody.
I just get so bored with Skyrim. I don't know. And conceptually, the games are just so similar, right? But like the Fallout Nuclear Wasteland just really draws my attention way more than fantasy.
Well, the setting the skin really does change everything, right? Like, I mean, Galactic Battlegrounds, I enjoyed way more than Age of Empires, even though I still love Age of Empires and enjoy it for what it is.
But also, if you like Fallout more than Elder Scrolls, there's really good news in that it really seems we're headed more that direction. Yeah.
I see. I'm just preparing myself for the future.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's about time to bring back around Starfield, I mean,
freaking Bethesda, man.
Fallout, and we got Starfield. I mean, bringing on that sci-fi. I mean, let's go.
I think the saddest thing about Microsoft buying Bethesda is that they're that much further from going out of business. It's just a huge bummer.
Brutal.
Wow.
If only Warner Brothers had bought Bethesda, and then
oh man,
and then Warner Brothers can run it all into the.
Warner Brothers could be like, "Hey guys, guess what? Tax write-off, boom, baby.
We're not even going to publish this movie. We're just going to tax write it off." I hate that. I was like, come on, how many videos have they just vaulted?
Or hey, our best game in the past full year was a single player experience, and our underperforming game of the past year, even though I personally love it and think it's a really, really good game, was a live service game. So naturally, we're going to focus all in on live service.
Right?
I mean,
we're just going to forget all about how well our other game did last year.
Yeah.
But speaking of Warner Brothers, I don't know if you guys have heard, David and I have been talking about it. Warner Brothers is shutting down Rooster Teeth Productions.
Whoa.
It is the end of an era. And
that's crazy.
For me, David and I have talked about how much Rooster Teeth was such a big pioneer in what now is just so normal on the internet of
pre-YouTube.
Video distribution, people, paying, what am I, like Patreon type stuff.
Subscription memberships and stuff.
Yeah, like they really pioneered a lot of that. For me, Rooster Teeth was a big part of David and mine's friendship for a while, that we were just listening to their podcasts and watching their videos and talking. David and I wrote out we storyboarded 5 seasons of a machinima we wanted to do that maybe one day we will still do. This podcast has its own roots and inspiration from Rooster Teeth. One of my favorite memories of living in Japan is Rooster Teeth had produced a movie called Laser Team, and they did a Japan premiere, and I went down to Tokyo for the premiere, and I got to meet Gavin and Bernie. And
that is so cool.
There were only like 11 people there at the meet and greet, so I actually really got to talk to them and stuff, which was so really awesome. Cool.
That's awesome.
And it was just a huge shock to me that this is that this happened. I mean, Bernie left Rooster Teeth years ago and recently started another podcast that David and I have been listening to. But to hear that they're closing their doors, it's
after 21 years.
After 21 years, it's a huge bummer. Yeah. I mean, anyone, D, you want to? We've been talking about it already. You want to make a comment on the closing of Rooster Teeth, the end of an internet era?
I mean, I think that it's a cautionary tale in terms of like letting go of something that you own, and also of like overextending. Like, I mean, apparently they've been operating at a loss for the last 10 years, and there's only so long that you can do that and still remain viable, like under a larger company. Like, I mean, yeah, it's very unfortunate. It's very tragic. It very much sucks to see like everything that they've done for the foundations of the internet just kind of not matter in a decision like this. But ultimately, like, the writing was kind of on the wall. I hate to say that, but I mean,
I
when
haven't
you're owned
watched
by a company that's interested in profit, like, yeah.
I haven't watched any of their new stuff. I did want to watch the final season of Red vs. Blue, but I haven't watched or listened to any Rooster Teeth stuff in more than 5 years, probably, at this point. So there's that. But I also, have been operating at a loss for the last 10 years. That's crazy. Weird. This is not financial advice. Weird.
It's a good thing that Warner Brothers doesn't own you then.
Shut down. Fired.
Well, and also, this is endemic of like just like Warner Brothers Discovery, like continuing to maximize profits over consumers, right? Ultimately. And continuing to make these decisions that like increase revenue above all else. And that's pretty upsetting to me as a consumer and as someone who regularly advocates on behalf of consumers that that this just continues to kind of be encouraged by the financial incentives that are kind of inherent in it, and that like Warner Brothers Discovery just continues to be able to make these decisions without there really being any kind of negative, I don't even know,
pushback.
Like, like that's really unfortunate, and probably like one of the biggest like problems with unregulated capitalism when it comes down to it. Not to get too like into the weeds there, but I think it's really unfortunate that like there's just doesn't seem any real consequences for Warner Brothers behaving this way, right?
Well, and it's led to. Does anyone have another comment on that? Because I want to lead that into another thing I wanted to talk about. Anybody?
Nope.
Okay, cool. Chloe, I remember you're here. I'm not going to edit this out, by the way. I remember you're in here, Chloe.
No comment.
No comment. No comment. Got it. But it's on the record. It's on the record. We got that. Craig, you got that written down? Craig doesn't just record for us. He also takes the minutes. But so there's a lot. So this isn't totally surprising. Warner Brothers has done this, last year, but also just in general, media and entertainment has been like shrinking, right? There's been a lot of layoffs. This is a big thing in gaming. This is something I've had on my list to talk about, and I feel like I can't take it off my list because almost every week there's like a new announcement of like a gaming company or a tech company or someone that lays off a ton of people.
Right.
One of the people I met on Twitch, she is one of the music directors for an indie MMO game, recently got laid off and has to move back to Canada from the United States. It's an interesting thing because I know a lot of people are interested in working in entertainment, whether that be video games or movies or TV, whether they're artists or coders, talent. It's a really unclear time. Like for me personally, even I would love to make music for some kind of show or game. And it's just a bit disheartening to see these huge companies have all of these mass layoffs, right? And where are they supposed to go, right? Every company in the field is laying off people and trimming down. And it's just it's an interesting deal. But also the tech sector and entertainment grew a lot during the pandemic when a lot of other areas were shrinking, and, it's catching up to them, right? That's
right. And we've talked about this with Twitch too, like off of this podcast, but like, it's really kind of crazy that, like, I don't know, that there wasn't more foresight or at least planning for the inevitable plateauing of growth that was bound to happen at some point, or even like the opposite, like the decline as people continue back into their regular lives and don't have the time or the resources to spend on entertainment or tech as much. But like the exponential growth that all these companies like kind of depended on coming to a stop, I feel like was pretty inevitable when it came down to it. And it just didn't seem like any of them had like a good plan for that, which is kind of frustrating, especially with how many lives it affects, how many people now have to search for work potentially out of the field because the field is pretty volatile right now. And yeah.
Yeah, and like you said, it kind of was, kind of the writing on the wall that there would be something like that happen when you had, the whole pandemic in 2020, and of course everybody's trying to work remote. So we had, all these companies, working through that, but now companies are wanting to pull people back in and just changing. People are not necessarily watching as much as, let's say, like streaming as far as like Twitch or live service or stuff as much as they once were, because now they're maybe back in the office or they've got a job outside of the whole office complex. Maybe they're back out, doing construction or out in the field or whatever. But yeah, so it does make sense. I hate it that it's, kind of keeps happening. Like you said, it keeps coming up on the news feed. But yeah, there was definitely going to be some kind of some sort of shift after how much things changed from 2020 to now 2024.
Right. I think what I object to, because I think that inevitably there was going to be a stop to the growth. I think what I object to is how many companies immediately leap to layoffs as a revenue increaser, just because it's super easy to do and super quick to do, and you see the immediate results from it, right? So like in terms of like looking at a spreadsheet of costs and profits, like it's really easy to just, I'm sure it's not an emotionally easy thing. I'm sure that some companies do really care about their employees and that they really don't want to let people go, but you see immediate like revenue growth once you reduce the costs of like having all these people hired. And especially when you cancel big projects that like required a bunch of people to work on them. Mm-hmm. Like EA canceled that unannounced first person Star Wars game, right?
Yeah, it's supposed to be a bounty hunter game or something like that, right?
Right. Yeah, that was the rumor, was that it was like a Mandalorian kind of game. But yeah, like when you cancel a project like that, and then you don't need the team for it anymore, and that really is like you get immediate profits from it. Like, oh hey, I saved this much money, but then like those people now have to look for work elsewhere, and that's just a really rough like industry problem, I think.
I don't think it's a new problem, though, either. I think that's just really kind of always been the case for any kind of tech media type company. I mean,
for sure,
since its birth,
Well, it's kind of been an unfortunate ripple effect, though. It's like, okay, one company did it, and now it's just like, okay, everybody's doing it along the chain. Maybe that's what's normal, but maybe, I don't know. It just seems like there's been a lot lately.
Well, and I think that's that period of like COVID exponential growth in that field has kind of exacerbated it to a degree that we haven't seen before. So I think it's more evident now. I think it's always been a problem, but I think it's way more evident now and way less like of a moderate kind of like normal up and down kind of event.
And so if you want a job in video games, you know, I guess the other thing too is that there's always like independent developers, right? And independent studios, but they're not seen as stable, not as long term, but also these bigger companies kind of are going that way too. It's like, well, you know, that position is not as stable as you think it is, not as permanent as you think it might be. All of that to say, I somehow missed that there was going to be a first-person Star Wars game, Mandalorian-type Star Wars game, and now I'm sad because I didn't even know it existed, and it's been taken from me.
There's a PlayStation 2 game called Bounty Hunter.
I love that game.
Such a great game. I'm glad you already know about it then, because
Yeah.
I talk about it all the time, and literally nobody has any idea this game exists. But it's
David
phenomenal.
and I used to play it often, and oh, man, what a great game!
Such a good game. Yeah.
I was playing it not too long ago, actually. I think it's back compat for the
okay.
PlayStation or something
Okay.
like
Yeah,
that.
it's on. It's back compat on PlayStation, and I think it's on PS Plus. I think.
Yeah, maybe that's what I was
on
playing
that.
on. Yeah, that's probably where I was playing on PlayStation.
I just am infinitely happy that I never got into the video game field, because initially that's what I went to school for, was video game design development was going to be my like degree title, whatever.
Ooh, fancy.
Yeah. But it turns out I'm not very good at coding. Like I could do it, but I was very slow. And so I was like, and then I broke my ankle. And so everything changed anyway.
Well, you know what they say though is it's really hard to code after you break your ankle.
Well,
You know,
no,
after you
I
break your
mean,
ankle, you're really back up to that professional coding level.
yeah. I
Right.
just, I couldn't cut it.
Yeah, it's
You need a full functioning ankle to be a good coder. Everyone
the
knows.
NBA and coding, right? You really
those
Takes a
two
lot.
things specifically. Yeah.
I mean, I would love to work on a video game project and such, and it's just a big bummer because it just seems less and less that's going to happen.
You can write the music for my video game.
I would love to write the music for your video game. I'll send you my rates.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds great.
we need to make a Dresden Files video game someday.
Oh man, that would be great. I think a Larian style Dresden Files game would
my
do
gosh,
really
yes.
well, right?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't even need to be full Baldur's Gate, like even like Divinity level
Yeah.
Dresden Files game. Fantastic. Would be fantastic. D, you want to talk about one of your topics before we wrap up? See, Chloe, I cut out all of these long silences.
No,
And
I
he
like
was never
it.
heard
I love
of again.
experiencing it firsthand,
I cut out these long pauses. Now I'm
You
not.
should have heard. You should have heard the 3-hour one the other day. Oh my gosh, that was crazy.
He
I did
left
hear
and
them talk
never
about it.
came back.
I'm more curious what was happening during those 3 hours. Like, did your power go out? Like,
But D, I know you had some topics you wanted to cover.
Oh gosh. So like in terms of Star Wars games, there is one coming out soon.
excellent transition.
That's a remake of not a remake, but a remaster of Battlefront.
Is it a remaster? Is it?
It looks better than the original Battlefront for sure. Yeah.
Does it? It doesn't look
Yes,
great.
It does. It doesn't look great, but it does look better.
Looking
Star
at it
Wars
side by
Battlefront
side,
Classic collection.
Yeah.
Is that wow?
Pre-order now is
Yeah.
what it says.
Reorder now.
But
Lord.
I know Johnny hates remakes and remasters.
God.
No, this is hot off the market because it's coming out on the 13th. This is fresh. This is coming out soon.
Yeah, it's coming out soon. Johnny will probably hate it because he hates remakes and remasters.
I do.
Johnny
but,
hates most things.
I think sometimes they can be good. The Final Fantasy VII remake is pretty neat.
See, See, but here's the thing with the Final Fantasy VII remake is it's barely a remake. Like
True. Yes.
it's a totally different combat system. They're telling a different story, right? Like the
Yes. Well,
story itself
they
is
rebuilt
different.
that whole thing
Well,
from ground up.
Yeah,
right?
Like,
well,
pretty
and then
much.
there's rumors that it like actually ties in a weird way into the Final Fantasy VII like original.
that would be cool.
Which, yeah.
That would be cool. But like, just
I haven't played the Rebirth, so I don't know for sure, but that's the rumors I hear about it.
best example of me being a hypocrite is that I love the Spyro Reignited trilogy. But I will stand by this. If they made a new Spyro game in that style, I would just start playing that game instead. Right?
Sure.
Like if there was a new Spyro game out, I would very happily play that instead of a remake. But I'm just tired of buying the same game. You know what I mean? I paid $60 for Battlefront 2 on launch day when I was a child. Why do I have to buy it again? Like, why are people excited about this? Like, it's just
You and all the Nintendo fans out there.
I know. Yeah. Like, please. Like they're like, guess what? We did it again. And by we did it again, what we mean is it's not different. It's just the same thing.
It's the same thing, but yet you can play it on your new device. Isn't that new?
Hey, isn't that awesome? Isn't that great? You guys we heard you like that it looks like a potato, so we didn't fix it. At least then the Spyro remaster looks nice.
This does look better. This does look better, but again, it's still I'm playing the same thing that I played 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
Literal PS2 game.
Well, and it looks better. Game. It looks better in the way that like the Assassin's Creed Ezio trilogy looks better, or the BioShock remastered looks better, right? Like they basically just clean up the edges and like make it look a little bit better.
And in some sense, you're like, I did that back then. I'm moving on. I'm experiencing new things. I want to reimagine. I like the reimagine, sure, but at the same time, can I have a new experience, a new story? I don't want to do the whole same thing over and over and over.
Even the Master Chief Collection, at least the first game, Halo Anniversary, they had the you could go back and forth, right? That's cool. Sure. And then in Halo 2, they actually had, or was it in Halo 1 also? They had like additional things in it, like you could find.
Yeah, they had that in 1 and 2. Yeah, they added some extra
terminals
and stuff.
Yeah, the terminals and stuff. That's cool.
And oh my gosh, those videos too, the blur videos, the like not the live action, but like the really high like quality animated 2, like cutscenes.
Yeah. Halo 2, they redid all the cutscenes, and wow, those are really good. They really are.
It like that's at least something, but like. This is like Pokemon level. Like, guess what, guys? We
did it again.
Yeah, guess what, guys? We need money. That's it. We just need money. And we had this over here, and we were like, hey, do you think they'd buy this 15-year-old potato? And they're like, I think they would. I think they would buy it.
Okay, so let me alter my question a little bit, because originally I was going to ask if there was any remake that you would like to see, Johnny, but is there any franchise that you'd like to see rebooted?
Well, and I think this is a good point here. Remakes, I think the Final Fantasy VII remake is doing it right in modernizing the gameplay itself, honoring the original story, and still doing something new.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
So I was just talking with a friend about the Netflix Avatar show, which, people are really split on. But to me, at least they're trying something new. You know what I mean? Like, it's like that to me more interesting. Is there something, I would love for them to re-look at the Sands of Time trilogy, Prince of Persia Sands of Time.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh,
me too.
That'd be great.
That was a really good trilogy. I thought the story was really compelling. I'm going to give a little bit of a spoiler here. The opening line of the first game is like the closing line of the last game, where he talks about that time isn't a river flowing in one direction. It's more like an ocean. That's really cool. Yeah. And it was done so well. I would love for them to revisit it, but I would also really love for it to not be the same game.
Sure.
That's all. Like,
Well, what about like have you played the like 2D like side scroller Prince of Persia that just came out?
I played the new one. I did play. They had another Prince of Persia. Was it called Sands of Time? Let me look. There was another Prince of Persia game a while ago.
It was the 360 where they changed kind of the art, and it was just the
they
Prince
changed
of
the
Persia.
art, and I feel
was
like
it
they like
360 or was it Xbox One?
It was 360, and it was just called Prince of Persia.
Yeah, I was
Yes,
gonna say, I'm
it
pretty sure
was.
they don't have an Xbox One game.
Yeah, you're right. I see it here. I played that one. It was really different.
I really love the art style on that game.
I grew to like the art style, and they even reused certain like character names and stuff, which I thought was interesting. But I enjoyed it. I have not played the side scroller.
I hear that the side scroller is really, really good. I'll need to
I
play
am
that
not a
at some
huge
point.
side scroller fan, just
Sure.
period.
I'm not
So
either,
like I haven't
yeah.
played Super
I kinda
Mario
get that.
Wonder either. Or like I've heard good things about the Assassin's Creed side scroller games. Didn't play those either.
I think you definitely need to give it a go. Super Mario Wonder is phenomenal.
That's what I've heard.
Okay, so how about you, Caitlin? Is there any like franchise you'd like to see like rebooted or remade or anything?
Kingdom Hearts. Why not? Kingdom
Definitely
Hearts.
not. Definitely not. Cannot say that I'm a Kingdom Hearts fan.
I would love to be an old man by the time they remake Kingdom Hearts 3. Right? They're like, guess what, guys? We're gonna remake it. The last one took 15 years. Why don't we do 30 for this
And
next
Johnny's
one?
like, "Oh no, here we go again."
And they'll call it Kingdom Hearts 3.5. It'll be great.
3.5
maybe
Chain
they
of
could
Memories
actually make
remixed.
their story cohesive at that point too. You know.
No, never.
Oh, sorry, I did interrupt you, Chloe. Go ahead.
Oh no, it's okay. I honestly, I can't even pull anything off the top of my head. As far as like, yeah, I mean, but that's the thing though. Warcraft has never died. Like they can't revamp it. They're just about to release a new season here at the end of the year.
Chloe, can I tell you something? Can I tell you something
yeah.
that's really going to hurt you? Warcraft died a long time ago.
No, it didn't.
You need to let it
You
go.
did the statistics. Like
You
14
need to
million
let
people are
it-
still playing this game.
14,000 were
14,000.
watching, not
Oh.
million.
Okay,
You
wait,
need to
hold
let
on.
Warcraft go.
14 million might still be playing, though.
You need to-
Let me, I'm
You
going
need
to
to
see if
let
I
it
can
go.
find a statistic.
It died a long time ago. And also,
that was a big.
I want to point out, you said Warcraft. You mean World of Warcraft?
Well, yeah,
I'm saying
'cause
Warcraft.
Yeah.
The games could be remade.
Warcraft coming
that
back
would
would
be
be
cool.
really cool. And they
Yes.
did do that though. Now that I'm looking at, let me open up my BattleNet launcher. Warcraft 3 they did remaster and bring to the BattleNet launcher, so you can play. I mean, you could always play it before too. But
I mean,
they did remaster Warcraft 3.
they need to remake the Warcraft movie and make people care about it because I liked that movie. I
And
don't
make
know why
this-
people.
yeah,
hate
I
it.
mean, I enjoyed the movie. There was a lot of things that were just wrong that irked me, like the fact that Dalaran was floating. That doesn't happen yet.
Yeah,
in the
freaking
movie.
Dalaran.
Gosh, it's just frustrating. But it's fine. It doesn't ruin the movie.
The worst things. I'm at the point now that I just hate fandoms. Fandoms kill stuff. People
Yeah.
who love things kill things. Right?
Yes,
They
They're just
really
like,
do.
Yes.
They really
They're like,
do.
I love this so much. Like,
That
I
it has
actually wanted
be
to talk about
perfect.
this.
It's so
Exactly.
like
It has to be
there's so
perfect
much
to what
into
I
it.
want.
Yeah.
It has to be
Yeah.
exactly what I wanted. Like, I was just talking with a friend about The Last Airbender, and I made a comment that I know got him mad, that I was like, you can just stop watching it. And he's like, why would I stop watching it? And I was like, because you're complaining about it. He's like, well, I said I liked it. I'm like, well, I guess I lost you saying you like it. Why do people have to complain about things they like? It's like, if you're enjoying it, then freaking shut up.
Yeah.
If you're not
At least they're
enjoying
making
it,
something about something you like,
yeah, at least if you're not enjoying it, you can just stop watching it. Like, there you go.
I think that there could be a healthy balance there, though. I think that a fandom can keep something true to its roots to an extent and like give it kind of like a base to kind of return to when it gets too far afield. Like I feel like Halo has had that happen a couple times where it started to go off the path a little bit, and like the fandom kind of forced it to like return a little bit.
If you can be objective, if you can be objective about it and keep a healthy balance, but
And
that's
be
where it's so hard for
constructive,
people
too. Like, I mean,
so many
yeah.
people are not constructive. They're on the far other side where they're just dogging it because they just feel so bad about, like they get into the emotion side of it. Like they feel like they need to go punch somebody. I don't know why,
Well, D, you brought up that the Halo fandom had done a good job of coming back around. Are there any fandoms you think that are pretty toxic and bad and don't do that?
Call them out. Call them out. No.
I can think of a few right off the top of my head.
I mean, none that I want to call out publicly.
I mean, the MCU fandom,
Political.
the DC fandom, the Star Wars fandom. These are all pretty bad. Pretty bad.
Star Wars has kind of been bad for a while, honestly, and it kind of seems like it gets better, but it just ripples and seems like it's going worse. I don't know.
Well, and there has to be. The problem is too, like in being a fan of something, you have to understand that it will adapt, it will change, it will not always be what you remember it as. Like that's necessary for it to continue.
Sometimes it gets shut down by Warner Brothers.
It's really hard to find that balance between supporting it and wanting it to remain true to its roots, and yet still like enjoying seeing it morph and evolve. And that's a really difficult balance to find. But also, back to World of Warcraft, 4.3 million players a day.
Oh, I did look it up. I got 3.3 billion active players, like active accounts.
That's not true. Half of the planet does not play World of Warcraft. No, that is not true. That is
they're duplicated accounts. It's all the fandom like saying, okay, let's make like 10 or 15 accounts each.
That sounds like Mark Zuckerberg being like, guess what? MetaQuest 3 better than the Apple Vision Pro. Hands down better. It's like,
actually,
shut up.
I just realized too that I read this statistic entirely incorrectly.
Sure.
So it says active. I realized that the Google corrected it, and it says active gamers in the world. So I wanted active. So anyway, it's 3.3 billion active video gamers in the world.
Okay, that makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah, that makes more sense. Farm, is there something you would like to see remade?
What came to my head right off the bat was Star Wars Episode 1 Jedi Power Battles. I don't know why, but man, I just love that game.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Such a good game. If they reworked that from ground up, I would buy it, and I would just like spread it all around on social media as much as I could.
Give me all 9 movies worth of levels too.
Yeah.
Oh exactly. Man, yes.
They could do so many different things. They could even like go the whole almost like any of those kind of like brawlers, like add little elements to it, like kind of like what any of the Mortal Kombats, the little systems that they've got in between all those sequences and on the scenes, and finisher moves or whatever. Also, that would be amazing.
Make it a games as a service so that I can just keep paying for it and keep getting content. Also do that.
We don't have time to get into the games as a service discussion.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
I wanted to know one thing that we really haven't really necessarily touched. I mean, you kind of have slowly, touched it here and there, Johnny. But how do you feel about the Netflix live adaptation of the Airbender?
Oh, thank you, because this actually goes into. I was going to try and figure out how to talk about this. I like it. That's it. I like it. But what I like the most about it is, I maybe I've said this on the podcast before, but in 2019, for example, when I made the Avatar's Love cover, which is like my popular song, Avatar was dead. They had an unsuccessful, so to speak, spin-off show. There was like 2 books out at the time and some comics, but basically it was dead. Nothing was going to happen with it, right? It's over. And I still really loved it. And it's really cool that in 2024, it's the #1 show in the world, at least for like a couple weeks, and everyone's talking about it. It's really cool to see Korra in Fortnite. It's really cool that there are people who are seeing it for the first time, and there are new fans coming in as well. I really love that. I was just talking with my son this morning about it, and because we're watching it together, and he was saying that he's like, I like the cartoon more. And I was like, there's nothing wrong with that. You can like the cartoon more because it's different than this show. And they can do things in live action that they can't do in cartoons, and they can do things in cartoons that they can't do in live action, right?
As long as he's not talking about the Clone Wars cartoon, yeah, absolutely.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And so I am of the mind that, like, is it perfect? No. I'm happy that it exists.
Exactly.
I guess I'll say it like that. I'm happy it exists.
I would say that probably is true for me for most of the Disney live action remakes, probably is where I stand with those. Where most of them, I'm happy they exist. Not all of them, but most of them, like, I'm glad that they exist. At
least they did something.
Yeah.
Avatar also was renewed for season 2 and 3, and I am looking forward to the budget increase that we will see every show this happens. There will be a budget increase for season 2, and I mean, hopefully, I feel like this is normal, but hopefully this is the worst season, right? I mean, season 1 of the cartoon is the worst season in my opinion. Like, it should only get better. So hopefully season 2 of the live action and season 3 will be incredible.
Season 3 is supposed to be like them wrapping it up, right?
Yes.
Is what they said.
Yeah.
So, I mean, though I did watch all of the first season myself.
Ooh, I still have to watch 2 more episodes.
I enjoyed it myself. So again, I haven't watched all the other animated cartoon portions of it, but it definitely is cool to kind of like do the reverse thing in the fandom and kind of like, okay, watch it, and then it's kind of like what I did with One Piece, and it's been a blast to kind of get back, kind of watch that and get into that. Well, is anybody else where, I don't know, when they were younger, like enjoyed cartoons more? Because I totally get what Little Johnny's talking about. Like, I like the cartoon better, or it does different things that the live action can't do. But now I'm like almost like I'm kind of in between. Like, I like live action sometimes better for sure, certain things, and I want to watch live action. And then of course there's always the Batman animated series that I don't want to watch anything live action, just animated.
It's interesting because for
tangentially to that.
Really quick. For me, I feel like it was opposite. I really liked live action as a kid, and now as an adult, I find myself really loving animated. But go ahead, D.
Interesting.
Tangentially to that specifically, speaking of Batman, I really like the Justice League cartoon a lot more than the live action Justice League.
Better, so much better. Justice League, Young Justice 2, phenomenal, all of it.
I think for me, my dad will not watch an animated movie, period. If I put on an animated movie on a TV, he will leave. Because his whole thing is, he's like, it's a cartoon, it's for kids. Mm-hmm. And
I literally remember this happening. I remember being at your house and we put on an animated movie and he just gets up and leaves. So
yeah, he just gets up and leaves. Like,
the kids are watching movies. I'm going to go do something else.
Yeah, for real. Like, he won't watch an animated movie. And I think that really affected me. So growing up, I really loved live action movies because that's just what we always would watch. And now as an adult, I find myself really enjoying animated stuff. Whether that is like more geared toward children or some more mature animation, right? Like, because obviously not every animated thing is made for children.
Yeah, for sure. And I do like the fact that I can sit there and myself watch, animated things and get something from it, but also my kids enjoy it. And that's an awesome feeling, like kind of be able to bridge those two gaps of, adult and kids and have a good time,
Well, and then there's the whole level of technically Avatar with the blue people, James Cameron's Avatar. That's all animated, like that's not real people. Like it's computer generated, right? But my dad doesn't think of it as animated. So my dad would watch Avatar Way of Water, but he would not watch Spider-Verse because he's like, well, Spider-Verse is a kid's movie because it's animated.
Oh, man.
And it's just interesting to see those lines blur too, because it's like, well, I think my dad would watch the Lion King remake, but not the original Lion King. But the Lion King remake is just as animated.
It's like something that you don't really think about, original. But yeah, for us, because we watch kind of both sets of media, but there are those people, like you said, out there that these live action things that are coming out, they will actually watch them and maybe they've never experienced them and this is their first time because they kind of gatekeep themselves off from any animation, which is kind of, I don't even think about that. I don't even think about that at all, but That's
Oh
so true. I didn't
man,
even think about
you just
at
said
all.
that. My dad might watch Avatar now. Maybe he would like it. You know, because there's a live action version of it. Maybe
Exactly.
he'd want to
Yeah.
watch it.
that's
Oh
true.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, hey, Dad, hey, this is what I was watching years and years back, or well,
Yeah,
close.
remember when you told me that this was all a waste of time? Here, get lost in it, enjoy it.
Yeah.
But really quick farm too, Avatar, the live action show kind of has like a Hobbit thing with it of they also reference a lot of stuff that's in like the comic books and the movies of Avatar. Not the movies, the books of Avatar as well, which I've really enjoyed. So there will be things if you go back and watch the cartoon, you'll still be like, wow, did they make that up for the show? And they didn't actually. It's in a graphic novel or it's in a book, which is pretty cool.
I like things where they have like little Easter eggs ties in here and there. That's that's one of the things I've been enjoying about like going back through Control when I've been playing through Control after playing Alan Wake 2, just like the things that Remedy does and like any other developer out there that kind of like ties their games together.
Sure,
Huge. Just the little things.
Well, guys, this is officially probably our longest podcast, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap us up. Anyone have any closing comments before we finish?
Bring back Carmen Sandiego.
Yes.
Would be
Where in the world is
phenomenal.
Carmen
Wow.
Sandiego?
I want to
Sure.
find out where she is. Definitely.
You haven't watched the Netflix animated series of
Oh,
that.
it's so good.
You
Oh, yeah,
should.
there's an animated series. You know what? If they
It's-
live action it, my dad would watch it.
Hey, can that be on a shirt somewhere?
You know,
Yeah,
I just want
but-
to point out that Dora the Explorer has her own live action.
I
There you
heard
go.
that it was pretty good, too.
I did
enjoyed
hear
it. I
also.
watched it with the kids. It was good.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. Make sure to give us a rating wherever you listen to podcasts and follow us on social media. Thank you so much. Dee, Farmer, Chloe, thank you so much for your first episode. And we will see you guys later. Bye.